Hello, hello, hello. It's not where we start, ladies and gentlemen. It's where we finish. I'm Anthony Gafa, and you're watching Unfiltered with Gafa. Today we're going to be ticking off rentvesting. And how does this relate to horse properties? You may want to be in a track environment where you can't afford. You may want to be on a farm that's out of your price range. You may need a training facility that's already established, that's out of your budget to buy. But the renting opportunities or the leasing opportunities may suit you. So leasing in a place where you want to be and investing elsewhere, investing in a property that suits your type of investment and your strategy that you've got and what you want to achieve. Whether it's resi, whether it's commercial, we'll cross those off in this episode. Leasing and buying was covered in our last episode, but this may be a good option that would suit you. Whether you're a trainer, whether you're a breeder, you need a facility that suits you. So the advantages of leasing a property and being able to get into that property that's established, the advantage of rentvesting is you're still using and abusing the method of leasing that's most suited to your business. So, minimal upfront costs, like we crossed off in our last episode. Being able to negotiate with the landlord. Seeing what can be included in a lease for the property you need to run a business. Because let's face it, you want to focus on running your business, not be tied into a mortgage on a farm that may not be the best investment. But the application of that farm, whether it's the facilities on it, whether it's the location, whether it's on the back of a horse track, well, that might suit your business, but not your investment journey. Go back a step. Rentvesting. It means we're also investing. So our money's not going to idle. You know, you're running a business, you're leasing a farm. So you've ticked a few boxes. You've got a business that's generating an income. You're saving money because you're renting and you're not tied up in a massive mortgage. But it doesn't mean that you can let your money idle. Because let's face it, bank interest isn't going to cut it for anybody. So now it's time to review what suits us. We need to talk about the investment side. Let's just dabble in property. Residential or commercial. The advantage of residential is we get massive growth. The returns are very poor, 2%, maybe 3%. But the growth is significant. And if you're starting off your investment journey, that might suit you because you need to have some equity and you're building up a portfolio. Well, the banks need to know that you got some equity in a property so you can invest further. You may have started your investment journey and you may want to lean on commercial because you're at that point where you've got equity, you've got some residential investment properties, and now you need to invest in commercial because, you know, it's getting later on in your career and you want to start seeing a bit more of a return. We can experience up to 7% in commercial, straight off the shelf. But what suits you? Instead of investing in a property that's desirable for you to be in at this present time, why wouldn't you invest in something that's more suited to your investment journey? When we're talking about residential and we're living in a place, well, where we want to live might make sense to rent because the place you're wanting to live in might be a very valuable apartment or house. Whereas where you can invest your money, you can focus on more growth or focus on a better return. This is where the rentvesting opportunities really come into play. So you want to double dip. You focus on your business. You focus on the thing that generates income. Your business will be at the front foot because you're leasing a property. Running that facility is not your problem. If there's any repairs, maintenance, ongoing costs, well, they're going to be pushed over to the landlord depending on the type of lease you've got. And you're focusing on being a trainer, standing stallions, running a stud, doing walk-ins. Whatever your business is, that's what your focus will be. The advantage of rent vesting is you invest in an area that suits your palate. You invest in an area that gives you the returns you need. You're in a position where your investment strategy could continue to grow in the background. As your portfolio grows, you've got more leverage, and that's running its own show. And you can focus on training horses or breeding horses because that's your business. So in summary, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're in a facility that you may not be able to afford. You're in a location that you may not be able to afford because you're renting. You're getting the upgrades done on the property you're in, maybe not at your expense, depending on how you structured the lease. And on the flip side, your money is working for you in a strategy that suits your investment type. When it comes to rent vesting, if you play your cards right, there is no downside. There is absolutely no downside. So while your investments are working in the background, it doesn't mean you need to waive your rights to everything that's applicable in a lease. Make the lease suit you. What does that mean? Well, before signing the dotted line, you're going to be liaising with a leasing agent or the landlord direct in some scenarios. This is the opportunity for you to say, well, the lease per year is X amount of dollars. I'm happy to pay Y amount of dollars. However, I need this included. I need a lick of paint on the fences. I need a couple of extra boxes built. I need the roads fixed. I need the house fixed, changed, or whatever that may be. Rather than using your own capital, your own money, negotiate that in the lease prior to signing the dotted line. Yes, it may have an impact on the amount of rent you pay, but at least it's not coming out of your pocket as soon as you move in, because you need to remember these improvements on a property now, they're not yours. And if you don't negotiate those prior to the lease commencing, you're going to be required to remove those improvements at the end of your lease. So be smart. And when it comes to options, if you're not sure you want to be there long term, sign a 10-year lease with 5 2-year options. If you know this is the spot for you, sign a 10-year lease with a 10-year option. The flexibility needs to revolve around what you need as a trainer or a stud master for that matter. In addition, when negotiating a lease, things can change. The property owner might see development down the road, so they can give you a get-out clause and they'll pay you a lump sum. But you need to agree on that before the lease is commenced. Again, if you need to get out of that lease, it's not really going to be an option, so make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. So why do I keep focusing on what needs to be done before signing the dotted line? Not only are there opportunities for you to have the landlord help out with the lease, but by engaging the right lawyer or consultant, there may be an option for you to buy the property at the end of your lease. It's always nice to put a clause in a lease that says, okay, if I'm going to do the improvements and I'm going to invest in this property, I would like the opportunity to buy it at a fixed price at the end of my lease. Sometimes the landlord may agree, sometimes they may not. But there's nothing wrong with asking. Another option would be having a first right of refusal. Of course, they can lay an inflated price on the table, but having first right of refusal means that you've built up a training facility and you're, an elite trainer and things are going well and the farm's really producing runners. So having that first right of refusal means the landlord can come to the table and say, my farm's worth X amount of dollars, but I need to offer it to you, the tenant, first. It's just a good option, especially if things are going well. you may want the option to buy. When it comes to horse racing and breeding, to get the results, because results speak for themselves. If you're a trainer and you're not getting winners, you're not going to last. As a stud master, if your stallions aren't producing, if you're not getting the results, you're not going to have a business. It is a very result-driven industry. This is where rentvesting really comes into play, because you can be in a location that suits you and your type of business. You can be in a property that's already established so you can hit the ground running and make money from day one because you're rentvesting. So while you are running your training empire, whether it's a trainer, whether you're a breaker, whether you're an educator, whether you're a pre-trainer, or running a farm, this will have no impact on your investment journey. So your investment journey is working for itself in the background, whether you get advice or whether you do it yourself. Year on year, you can leverage off your investment portfolio because you have a strategy within the portfolio that's growing and growing and growing, whether it's growth, capital growth, or whether you've got an income that's allowing you to reinvest. So you don't need to cross paths. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They invest in their farm, they invest in their stables, they invest all their hard-earned improving the facility. Yeah, sure. At the end of the day, they've got a really nice facility. But let's face it, when you're retired, do you want to walk around your stable complex on the back of a racetrack? Or do you want the opportunity to do whatever you like because your money's been working in the background? At this point, there might be an opportunity to buy the stable you're in if that really means a lot to you. But we need to identify there are two different paths. Running a business, having a facility that you're using and abusing, and let somebody else carry the expenses. And then on the other side, invest in opportunities that are best suited to you. Run a business that suits you, not where you can afford. That is the biggest advantage of rentvesting. You'll be in a location, you'll be in a property that can allow your business to thrive, not what your back pocket is dictating.